In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 NBA games happening on January 17, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Minnesota Timberwolves versus San Antonio Spurs. The Minnesota Timberwolves head to Frost Bank Center on Saturday to square off with the San Antonio Spurs in what feels like a tricky scheduling spot for the visitors. Minnesota is coming off a win over the Bucks and a loss to the Rockets, with the Jazz on deck, but even with that stumble, they have still taken 17 of their last 24 games, which says their overall form is still strong. San Antonio just dropped a game to the Thunder, bounced back to beat the Bucks, and also has the Jazz up next, and they have put together 27 wins in their last 42, so they have quietly been stacking results of their own. The big storyline here is who is actually available. The Timberwolves are still shorthanded with Anthony Edwards ruled out, which is massive considering he hit the clutch shot that beat the Spurs 104-103 when these two met on Sunday. Now they have to face the same opponent without the guy who closed the door in that last meeting, and that changes everything about how their offense looks late in games. The Spurs are missing Devin Vassell, with Stephen Castle listed as questionable, so they are not at full strength either, but they still have more of their usual structure in place for this one. Minnesota has won the last 5 games against San Antonio, so you can absolutely talk yourself into taking the points with the underdog if you focus only on recent head-to-head dominance. The problem is the context around this specific matchup. The Timberwolves are on the second night of a back-to-back. They are still down their best player, and all of that travel and usage adds up by the fourth quarter. On the flip side, the Spurs usually take care of business in the games they are expected to win, and they are at home where they are 14-5 straight up, which is a big deal in a league where travel can drain young rosters quickly. Minnesota has also slipped to 18-24 against the spread, so the market has started to catch up to them a bit, and they are not automatically rewarding bettors the way they might have earlier in the season. The Timberwolves are still dangerous if Randle has another big game, so you cannot just write them off, even on a back-to-back. But with them playing that second game in 2 nights, and with Ant-Man still out of the lineup in this scenario, the spot clearly favors San Antonio. If the Spurs bring their usual home energy and lean into that rest advantage, they are well positioned to handle a short number and control enough of the game to get the cover. Laying the reasonable chalk with the Spurs makes sense within the way this setup is described. As our first pick for this matchup, the San Antonio Spurs to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Shifting over to the scoring side of things, the numbers for both offenses and defenses give us a decent framework for how this game might flow. The Minnesota Timberwolves are averaging 120.3 points on 48.6% shooting while allowing 114.6 points on 46% shooting. They are knocking down 37.4% of their threes and 75.3% of their free throws, and they are pulling in 44.8 rebounds per game, so they have the tools to score efficiently and control the glass for stretches. They are allowing 35.3% shooting from deep, which is not completely locking teams down from outside, but it is not a glaring weakness either. The San Antonio Spurs are averaging 118.1 points on 47.3% shooting and allowing 112.6 points on 46% shooting. They are hitting 34.6% from beyond the arc and 79.7% from the free throw line, and they are grabbing 46.8 rebounds per game, which actually gives them a bit of an edge on the boards and another path to extra possessions. Defensively, they are allowing 36% shooting from three-point range, which leaves some room for opposing shooters, but it is still workable if they keep everything else in front of them. Looking at those numbers, it would be easy at first glance to expect a pure shootout, since both teams sit comfortably in the high 100 teens on offense. However, the original angle lands on the under, and there is a logic to that when you factor in how these kinds of matchups can tighten up. With Minnesota coming off a back-to-back and missing its main scorer, their usual offensive output might naturally dip a bit, especially late in the game when legs get heavy. San Antonio has enough scoring to carry its share, but with them also allowing only around 112 to 113 points per night, it is not as if every game they play turns into a track meet. If the Spurs lean into using their size and rebounding to slow things down and force more half-court possessions, that can shave possessions off the game and limit the total. The shooting percentages are strong on both sides, but if the pace cools and the tired team settles more into contested looks, those efficiency numbers can slide just enough to keep the combined score under the projected number. So, even with both teams showing they can score, the specific situation and defensive figures outlined here support the idea of a total that lands a bit short of what the raw season averages might suggest. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Charlotte Hornets versus Golden State Warriors. The Charlotte Hornets and the Golden State Warriors meet at Chase Center on Saturday night. Charlotte is coming in with a strange little rhythm right now. They just beat the Lakers, lost to the Clippers, and have the Nuggets on deck, which is a pretty rough stretch no matter how you slice it. They have split their last 8 games, so they are hovering in that space where they are dangerous but not exactly reliable. Golden State is in a better groove results-wise. They have recent wins over the Trail Blazers and the Knicks, and they face the Heat next as part of this long stay at home. They have taken 10 of their last 14 games, so the win column looks decent, even if it has not always felt dominant. In terms of personnel, the Hornets are still without Mason Plumlee, and Moussa Diabate is listed as questionable. On the other side, the Warriors are again expected to be without Seth Curry and Gui Santos. These two already played once this season, a 132-125 Warriors win on December 1st. What matters there is not just the score, but the flow. Charlotte actually led heading into the fourth quarter and showed they can hang in this matchup for long stretches. Even with a record of 15-26, Charlotte is one of those teams that people casually throw on NBA League Pass because they are fun. When LaMelo Ball gets rolling, their offense looks like it can steamroll anyone, at least for stretches. The downside is that it has not happened as often as their fans hoped, but you can see the flashes. In 2 of their last 3 games, they have hung 150 and 135 points on the Jazz and the Lakers, which is the kind of thing that sticks in bettors' minds. That kind of output is encouraging when you are about to face one of the stronger home environments in the league in the Warriors. LaMelo and company have had time to rest and build a game plan for this spot, and that matters for a young roster that relies a lot on rhythm and confidence. They have quietly become more trustworthy against the number lately, covering 7 times in their last 9 overall and 7 times in their last 8 on the road. It is not perfection, but it is enough to suggest this group is starting to figure out how to compete for a full 48 minutes. Golden State sits in that elite home tier this season with 15 wins in 21 games at Chase Center. They are in the middle of an 8-game homestand and have already won 4 of the first 5. The only loss in that stretch came against Atlanta, a young and hyper-athletic team that looks a lot like what Charlotte wants to be, with pace, energy, and a lot of threes. That comparison alone should keep the Warriors cautious, because this roster is one of the older groups in the league and does not always love long, high-tempo games. There is also the off-court noise around Jonathan Kuminga, who has requested a trade. His frustration with his role has been talked about plenty, and that kind of tension can hang over a locker room, especially when you are trying to grind through a long homestand. It does not mean Golden State suddenly collapses, but it is a reminder that their situation is not completely smooth right now. From a betting angle, the Warriors are naturally going to be favored here, mostly because they are the Warriors and they are at home. The catch is that they are just 19-22-1 against the spread this season. They win games, but they do not always reward people who lay points with them. Charlotte, meanwhile, is 24-17 against the spread and has started to show they can actually close games, not just start fast. They have won 4 of their last 5 on the road, including a dominant win over the Lakers on Thursday, which reads like a small coming-of-age stretch for them. It feels a little risky to say it, but this Hornets team might be maturing right in front of us. They are young, they push the pace, and they shoot a ton of threes. Against an older Warriors team, that kind of style can be sneaky dangerous, especially if Golden State has one of those flat shooting nights or struggles in transition. Golden State still feels like the obvious side at first glance, but the first meeting is a good reminder that Charlotte did not fold. They lost by only 7 points at home and were right there entering the fourth quarter. If the Hornets start hitting threes early in this one, they can absolutely keep things tight again. And if their offense really clicks, another upset is at least on the table. As our first pick for this matchup, the Charlotte Hornets to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Charlotte is averaging 116.3 points on 45.8% shooting from the field and giving up 116.6 points on 48.2% shooting. They are hitting 37.2% of their threes and 81.2% from the free throw line. Defensively, they are allowing 37.6% shooting from beyond the arc and pulling down 45.2 rebounds per game. So you get a picture of a team that plays fast, scores well enough, but also leaks points on the other end. Golden State is right in that same scoring neighborhood. They are averaging 115.5 points on 45.6% shooting and allowing 113.7 points on 47.2% shooting. From deep, they sit at 35.9%, with an 82% mark at the free throw line. They are allowing opponents to hit 34.8% from three and collecting 43.5 rebounds per game. It is a similar pattern, slightly different profile, but the same general mid-100 teen scoring range. It is tempting to look only at those recent Hornets explosions of 150 and 135 points and assume this game turns into another full track meet. But their season averages pull things back toward a more moderate expectation. They can spike scoring in certain matchups, especially against weaker defenses or in ultra-chaotic games, but they can also drift back toward their usual range when the shooting cools even a bit. The same is true for Golden State, who has the reputation of a pure offensive juggernaut, but whose numbers this season suggest games that sit closer to their average rather than constant fireworks. The first meeting between these two finished 132-125, which landed well into high-scoring territory. That tells you they can absolutely trade buckets. At the same time, totals are set off those kinds of results and these averages, so the number for this rematch is likely accounting for that kind of outcome already. When both offenses are solid, but not flawless, and both defenses are leaky yet not totally helpless, there is room for this game to land a bit short of a very lofty number if the shooting is even slightly below those peak nights. So while both teams have enough shooting and pace to make things wild, their full season profiles point closer to a game that stays under a very high projected total rather than repeating every recent scoring spike. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Washington Wizards versus Denver Nuggets. The Washington Wizards head into Ball Arena on Saturday night to take on the Denver Nuggets in what looks, on paper, like a pretty lopsided matchup. Washington is stumbling and yet again, coming off losses to the Kings and Clippers, with another date against the Clippers waiting for them after this one. They have dropped 35 of their last 46 games, which tells you everything about how often this team has been fighting uphill. Denver, on the other hand, is moving in the opposite direction. They have recent wins over the Mavericks and Pelicans, and the Hornets are up next on the schedule. The Nuggets have taken 5 of their last 6, so even with bumps and bruises on the roster, their form looks strong. On the injury front, the write-up has the Wizards still missing Chris Middleton, Cam Whitmore, Trae Young, and Bilal Coulibaly. For the Nuggets, it lists Nikola Jokic, Jonas Valanciunas, Christian Braun, and Cameron Johnson as out. The story tied to those names is that Washington has struggled badly since trading away C.J. McCollum and has yet to see newly acquired Trae Young suit up, while Denver has thrived without Jokic thanks to Jamal Murray leveling up his game. The problem for Washington is not just who is supposedly unavailable, it is how they are playing as a group. They have been bad on both ends, and the recent stretch tells the same story. They are 0-5 straight up and against the spread in their last 5 games. Now they walk into altitude on the second night of a back-to-back, which is one of the toughest scheduling spots in the league even for good teams, never mind a struggling one. Fat legs and a shaky defense in that building rarely go well. Denver has its own injury issues in this scenario, and that is the only real pause before laying a big number. You never feel thrilled about backing a team with a long injury list as a double-digit favorite, especially when the spread is already hefty. But the case here is less about Denver being perfect and more about Washington being completely unreliable. The Nuggets are still playing cohesive, confident basketball, and when a group is locked in like that at home, it can cover a big spread almost by accident if the opponent stops competing. The line was always going to be big for this matchup, given the gap in quality and current form. Even so, it does not feel inflated enough to push you onto the Wizards' side. Washington has shown so little in terms of resistance lately that there just is not any meaningful betting edge backing them, even catching a large number. If their offense stalls early or they fall behind by double digits, the risk of a non-competitive blowout is very real. So while it is not exactly fun to swallow heavy chalk with a banged-up Nuggets roster, their home edge, recent performances, and the Wizards' spiral all point the same way. Washington simply does not offer any real betting value right now, and this sets up as another spot where they can get run out of the gym. As our first pick for this matchup, the Denver Nuggets to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Wizards are averaging 112.6 points per game on 46.1% shooting from the field, while giving up a massive 123.9 points on 47.2% shooting. From deep, they are hitting 35.5% of their threes and 77.3% at the free throw line. Defensively, they are allowing opponents to shoot 36.3% from three, and they are grabbing 44.1 rebounds per game. So you are dealing with a team that can score a bit, but bleeds points constantly. Denver's offensive profile is even louder. The Nuggets are averaging 122.7 points on a very efficient 50.2% shooting and allowing 117.5 points on 47.2% shooting. They are hitting 40.2% from beyond the arc and 81.7% from the foul line. On defense, they are giving up 35.6% shooting from three and pulling down 43.2 rebounds per game. So both sides sit in that combination of capable scoring and shaky resistance, which is usually friendly to overs. Even in a game that might tilt toward a blowout, the ingredients are there for a fast pace and a lot of possessions. Washington's weak defense almost guarantees Denver will find good looks early and often. If the Nuggets build a big lead, their offense can carry a large chunk of the total by itself, and the Wizards are the type of team that keeps shooting and playing loose even when they are behind. That kind of garbage time scoring can actually help push a total higher rather than kill it. You also have two teams that shoot the ball well from three and from the free throw line by the numbers listed. Clean shooting percentages and frequent defensive lapses tend to create long scoring runs on both sides, even if one team is clearly in control. So while there is some small risk that an extreme blowout slows things late, the more likely script based on these averages is a game that lands in a high combined total range. Putting it together, the offensive efficiency, the poor defensive metrics, and the likelihood of steady scoring throughout most of the game all lean toward a number that gets pushed over rather than held down. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Los Angeles Lakers versus Portland Trail Blazers. The Los Angeles Lakers and Portland Trail Blazers meet Saturday at the Moda Center in a matchup that suddenly feels a lot more interesting than it looked a few weeks ago. The Lakers are coming in off a weird little stretch. They lost to the Hornets, bounced back with a win over the Hawks, and have the Raptors waiting next. Overall, they have dropped 4 of their last 5 games, so the vibes are not exactly smooth right now. Portland's recent run tells a very different story. They lost to the Warriors, took care of the Hawks, and will see the Kings after this. They have won 8 of their last 11 games, which is a big step forward for a young group that was expected to take its lumps more often than not. Injuries are hanging over this matchup from both sides, which makes everything feel a bit shaky on paper. For the Lakers, Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic are listed as ruled out, with DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes both questionable. On the Blazers side, they are again without Scoot Henderson, Matisse Thybulle and Denny Avdija, with Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday both questionable. This is one of those nights where checking starting lineups close to tip makes a lot of sense, even if that sounds obvious. It is already expected that DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, Jackson Hayes, and Austin Reeves will all miss this game for the Lakers. That leaves a lot of pressure on a very familiar source. It has been a rough patch for J.I. Redick and his group, with just 1 win in their last 4 games and only 1 spread cover in that span. So it falls back on 41-year-old LeBron James to drag the offense along again. You can trust him to put up numbers, but asking him to carry a shorthanded squad on the road against one of the more surprising teams this season is a big ask. Yes, the Lakers have a positive head-to-head record against Portland over the broader sample. But the recent road form is not pretty. They are just 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 away games. When your depth is shaky and your legs are older, that type of trend is hard to ignore. The Blazers could also be without key pieces. Denny Avdija is expected to miss what would be only his third game of the season, but he has not been officially ruled out, so there is still a chance he fights through the back issue. If he plays, that gives Portland a nice lift. Even without him, though, they handled the Hawks in their last game without much stress. This Portland team has quietly made their home floor a tough place to visit. They have an 11-10 straight-up record in 21 outings at the Moda Center, which might not sound dominant, but for a young team that many people wrote off, that is meaningful. They have covered the spread in 6 of their last 7 at home, and against Pacific Division teams they are 4-2 straight up in 6 games. So there is a pattern building of this group stepping up in these spots. Playing without the main engine of their team could be a real problem for the Lakers. LeBron is almost certainly going to put up a strong box score, but the recent defensive showings are a red flag. Allowing 135 and 124 points to the Hornets and Kings in 2 of the last 3 games is not the type of form you want when facing a confident, fast-paced team on the road. The Lakers remain banged up and still have stretches where scoring looks like hard work. They have lost 4 of their last 5 and have struggled with young teams that like to push tempo and score in waves. The Trailblazers check all those boxes, and this young roster keeps building belief with each win. Portland is 7-3 straight up and against the spread in its last 10 games, and there are clear signs of improvement on the defensive side, even if it is not perfect. They are trending in the right direction and have become a team you do not mind backing regularly, especially at home. The Lakers still technically have enough star power to win a game like this if everything breaks right. But with their injury issues, road struggles, and defensive lapses, they are running into a Blazers team that has quietly become one of the hotter outfits in the league lately. As our first pick for this matchup, the Portland Trail Blazers to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Lakers are averaging 115.9 points per game on a very strong 49.6% shooting from the field. They are allowing 116.3 points on 48.6% shooting, so opponents are scoring efficiently too. From 3, they are hitting 34.2% and they sit at 77.6% from the free throw line. Defensively, they are allowing 36.8% shooting from deep and grabbing 41.4 rebounds per game. So the picture is of a team that scores efficiently inside the arc, gives up clean looks, and does not completely dominate the glass. Portland's scoring profile is just as friendly to points, if not more. The Trailblazers are averaging 116.3 points on 44.8% shooting and allowing 118.9 points on 47.2% shooting. They are hitting 34% of their threes and 78% of their free throws. On defense, they are allowing 35% shooting from beyond the arc and pulling down 45.2 rebounds per game. That looks like a classic young team stat line. Plenty of scoring, not a lot of resistance. When you put these two profiles side by side, it is easy to see why an over makes sense. Both teams live in the mid-100 teens on offense. Both give up a lot of points and do not exactly smother opponents at the three-point line. Add in the fact that the Blazers like to run and the Lakers have trouble containing younger, high-energy groups, and you have a setup where pace could stay elevated for most of the night. Even if the injuries shuffle the rotations a bit, that does not necessarily hurt the total. Role players often play faster, take quicker shots, and defenses can get disorganized when lineups are patched together. We have already seen the Lakers involved in recent high-scoring games, and Portland has the kind of style that encourages back and forth runs rather than slow, grindy possessions. With both teams shooting at respectable clips from the field and the foul line, trips to the stripe and open looks from 3 should keep the scoreboard ticking. So the most reasonable expectation from these numbers is a game that leans toward a higher combined total rather than a defensive slugfest. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.